The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Dan Eve, the Crypto Raptor.
Hi there.
Josh Sigala from the Standard.io.
Guten Tag.
Martine Wishmayer from General Bytes.
Hi, guys.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to Issue 1. Issue 1. New York officials rule against Bitcoin mining power plant. Yes, some entrepreneurs in New York State had bought an old fossil fuel burning power plant and had the clever idea to turn it back on to mine some Bitcoin. Yes, they even bought carbon offsets, but that wasn't enough for the state of New York. New York said no dice, no more burning fuel to make Bitcoin. Other banking industries were not affected. Dan Eve, your thoughts on New York's rejection of the Bitcoin fossil fuel burning power plant?
Well, I understand that we want to cut down on fossil fuel burning power plants. It makes logical sense. This one it's a coal plant that was re-engineered to use natural gas, and I think Greenidge, the company, they already buy they're actually carbon neutral. I think by the sounds of the article, they obviously buy carbon credits, whether you agree with them or not. At least they're kind of offsetting the carbon that they are making to mine Bitcoin. But it said that they're only if it's at full capacity, it would be 0.23% of the state's greenhouse gas emissions for the year, and that really that's not a lot, right? Considering Bitcoin is providing a service. It's not like you're just burning. The thing is that people kind of forget is they consider anything that's mining or any mining of Bitcoin as a complete waste. It's always just considered a waste. They forget that it's actually doing something, that it's got a reason behind it. It's securing the network, right? And that's that's something that you can't compromise by having something like proof of stake, because it's a secure model that's the most secure that we've ever seen. That's the reason why we've got proof of work, and it's the reason why Bitcoin is so secure. The fact that they've rejected it, it's good from a I say good as in it's it sounds good on the surface, but it's just the same as saying rejecting the ability to do, like, I don't know, almost like a lawn watering ban. But they don't do this with anything else, right? They don't say, right, electricity's running short, or we're burning too many emissions, so we're going to cut down. No one's allowed to buy X product anymore. Like, they don't do anything like that. They don't. It's always just picking on Bitcoin as something specifically because it uses energy. And yeah, I just think the message gets lost that it's not wasting electricity, it's using it to secure the network, right? And that's something that it needs. It's also got there's financial benefits to that, which is the tax that ends up going back into the state. So they're kind of missing out on that side of it. But it does seem like the view is very. It's extraordinarily negative from the environmental side. Some hippie said, I can't remember their name from the article, I just wrote the quote, which was, New York's former fossil fuel burning plants are not yours to reopen as gas guzzling Bitcoin mining cancers on our community. And that just shows that there's a bit more to it than just saying, like, oh, we could probably do with using that power plant for something else more constructive or something like that, right? It's a hatred towards Bitcoin that's unfounded, that really defies logic. They haven't really thought about it. They probably don't know anything about mining or what the benefits are of mining or the reason why you're doing it. It's just this flat out thing of going, it's the sort of like idiot that basically, like, will phone up and complain about a show that they've never even watched. Like, oh, have you heard about the? I'm going to be putting in a formal complaint about this show because they're like, they haven't even watched it. They've just heard from someone else that it's bad. They haven't done their research. They haven't watched it. Yeah, it's just the same old stuff, and it will move. The problem is, it's got a chance to move, right? At the moment, they're carbon off, they're carbon what do you call it, carbon zero carbon, because they're offsetting their with carbon credits. They could move to somewhere else where they're using not coal, not gas, but coal, right? So you know, by having something in your own front yard, you've got the ability to control it and to make sure that it is going along the right track. But you know, unfortunately, they could migrate now that their license hasn't been renewed to somewhere else where they can use fossil fuels, and they don't care about carbon credits because they're like, we're not going to get shut down, so we don't have to, you know, to go through the effort of being carbon neutral. So naughty hippies.
Well, I remember when the internet came out, everyone's so mad about the server rooms. They're like, you're going to build server rooms to give us the internet, and you're going to put down wires and cables and all of this just so we can have jobs and information and a whole future that, you know, delivers streaming stuff to us all the time. Oh, don't do that. Everyone's going to hate that. But here we are again. We're not sure what we're doing with the Bitcoin. Obviously, New York is against it. Josh, similar things happening in Germany because of the Russia-Ukraine war. Germany is considering turning back on their fossil fuel plants, maybe even building more. Of course, they're not going to use it for Bitcoin mining, though, so that's perfectly okay.
Oh, they bloody better, because there's going to be a lot of very cold people this winter. But you know, the thing is, I actually believe that the state for the first time has actually done this entrepreneur a favor, because mining Bitcoin with fossil fuels is never profitable, especially when on top of that, you've got carbon credits to pay for. I don't see the math working. I don't see how the maths can work unless generally fossil fuel mining only really works in communist countries that basically subsidize fossil fuels, because they've got like large supplies, like Venezuela or something, where they've got large supplies of fuel, and everything's super cheap, like everything's super expensive apart from energy, and or some despotic dictatorship where that also happens in oil-rich countries. So you know, in America, I don't see it working. I think they've probably dodged a bullet there with that. Yeah, we'll see.
Martine Wishmayer, your thoughts on mining Bitcoin with energy?
Yeah, that was an extremely biased article, as Dan already said. We all know the whole Bitcoin is boiling the ocean story originated with a guy that calls himself Dogecoin economist, and was paid for by the Dutch central bank to put out a very negative article. You know, this is and then it gets copied, and if you read it enough, then it becomes the truth. And then I don't think it's wasting energy or anything. It's you know, as Dan says, it's providing a service, and you know, if you don't use the service, then you might consider it wasted energy. But I find it total waste of energy that all these people leave their cable boxes on all the time. That should be prohibited. You know, first they watch these shitty shows on TV, and then they leave their cable box on, and that's like boiling the ocean. So that should be prohibited. You know, they should be replaced by Bitcoin miners. No, I think the whole discussion about energy, I don't know, get bored with it. Whether you sign off usually after the first paragraph, and if there's some smelly hippie fans their opinion, it's a Bitcoin is a cancer. Well, you know, ugh.
Someone needs to invent free energy so that we can just get rid of this like Bitcoin boils the earth business.
Yeah, I think it's good. You know, the fish like it to have it warm too, and we shouldn't let that stop us. And we know Bitcoin will just go elsewhere, and mining will go elsewhere, and it doesn't really matter where it will go, but it will happen. So yeah, I do think it's a bit strange though that it first allow you to buy an old coal power plant and then deny you to operate it later. I think this is just I don't know. This is just wrong.
I mean, it's not like like New York has been the most friendly Bitcoin state in the world, in America. You know, they were from the beginning. They were very hostile, putting in the
bit
new
license,
license and all that. So you know, it's not really a surprise.
What do you think?
I do agree with Martine though about the coal power plant. How can you allow it to be resold if it can't be used for what it's designed for. It's like you bought a pizza oven and now you're going to cook some pizza. What does New York expect? It seems like if the state really wanted to save the environment, which I'm in favor of, maybe they should be purchasing these old coal power plants so that they can decommission them for good. And it's just part of the state write-off plan. They'll turn it into a, national park or something, or maybe a Superfund site if it's polluted,
Rave
Or
club.
a Smithsonian, never too late.
And it's renewing it as well. So they let it operate. Like they actually let it, it says denied required air permit to renew the mining power plant on the grounds it's a threat to climate goals. So they let it operate for a while and then they suddenly went, nah. So how many other things that I'll be interested to find out that how many other other things that they clamp down on, right? If they turn around and go, I mean, look, you walk through a city center at like 10 o'clock at night, the shops aren't open, but there's hundreds of lights in there just burning away completely.
Yeah.
No one's going to go and look
Think about New York City.
How's the
If you wanted to save the environment, maybe you buy that building in Times Square that has nothing but billboards on the side and doesn't even have any businesses in it. For like the last 30, 40 years, it just runs billboards that waste energy and just put the light out there. Martine was talking earlier about the cable boxes. At least you get the television. At least when you run the PlayStation 4 all night, you get the updates. With the Christmas lights, and like Dan saying, more importantly, with these billboards, with these advertisements, we're not getting anything. We're just getting excess unnecessary light. I mean, yeah, you get advertisement. We don't want advertisement. I mean, at least a street light lights the street. Christmas lights just kind of go out in the air. Advertising lights light the advertisement. Maybe we're not cracking down in the right place. Maybe picking on proof of work ain't right. Maybe we should pick on proof of nothing first, right?
What the Bitcoin community needs to do is find another enemy to pin the blame on, right? We need to find something else that like uses electricity and be like, oh, that's so bad. Wow. And then
Hippies.
Yeah, the hippies.
Yeah, hippies.
Drum circles.
Hippies.
Yes, the hippie drum circles are breaking out everywhere. But now we have the breakout of the exit question. Surprise forced prediction. Competing against the amazing Bitcoin ball, the baldest form of Bitcoin prediction. It's so bald. Dan Eve, will the price of Bitcoin be higher or lower this time next week?
Lower.
Josh Shigala. He's muted, but I'm sure he's saying lower. Everyone is negative.
We're going down. We're gonna liquidate the Celsius. That's what's gonna happen.
That's terrible and awful. I don't even know Fahrenheit, let alone Celsius. Martine Wishmayer, higher or lower?
Oh, definitely lower. We haven't seen the bottom yet, and I think we will be going down, down, down. So if you haven't sold already, you're screwed.
Disastrous negativity here. Of course, the Bitcoin ball will save us. Will the price of Bitcoin be higher this time next week? And it says maybe.
Thomas,
maybe's not bad.
We could just one look at that Bitcoin predictor ball, and every viewer will know that the price went down, but the size of the ball shrank as well, or not?
It's deceptive. It's like shrinkflation. It's a smaller 8 ball to give you the worst news.
Yeah. It's been correct. I've been keeping tabs. It's been correct every time.
Version. It's amazingly correct, especially when it refuses to predict. That's often the best and easiest prediction. Moving on to issue 2. El Salvador's Bitcoin boosting leader buys $1.5 million more. Yes, they're buying the dip in El Salvador. And Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy bought another $10 million in Bitcoin as crypto markets lost $900 billion in value. Josh Shigala, El Salvador and MicroStrategy, the best friends that Bitcoin has ever had? Or are they leading us to their doom with their endless optimism and their even more endless ability to borrow money and mock us all with their huge, huge buys?
No, I think they're spot on. Look, any good businessman buys when there's blood in the streets. That's what you do. You basically, you want to, when everyone's hyping in and everything's green and everyone's just loving life, you got to slowly get out. And look, you see like the FTX owner, right? He's now going up, basically buying up all these totally degenerate gambling companies and these VCs who have totally screwed up and are ready to be liquidated. And he's like, oh, well, I'll help you out because he's got liquidity now. And but this is typical of the market. What everyone does is follow everyone into the hype train right at the top, and then they lose their shirts. So it's really, now's the time to buy. Now's not the time to go, it's over. Now's the time slowly edge in, and if you've been looking at the crypto markets, this is the time when it's down. And just, we just said it's going to be lower. It shouldn't matter. You should just put a little bit in to savings, like your savings account every month. Not financial advice. Of course, I don't know your situation, viewer. No one does. Don't listen to people on the internet. But when prices are low, that's when people should buy, not when prices are high.
You could just watch all those videos where the people have their mouths open. That's the one to buy. Those are the price predictions that you want to listen to. But meanwhile, Martin Wishmayer, are these our best friends of Bitcoin, or are they just taking advantage of a situation?
Well, regarding El Salvador, I'm not a big fan of governments buying Bitcoin, because I suspect that at one point there will be an exit scam or a rogue pool, and then the person in power will take all the private keys and will move elsewhere. For Michael Saylor, it's different, of course. He's like, his company is registered on the stock exchange. And yes, as Josh said, if there's blood in the streets, you buy the dip. I think it's a smart move. Eventually, the price will go up, especially if you look at inflation and all. So it might take a few years, but it's definitely worth it. So I think he's just DCAing 10 million at a time, So very good. New best friends or not, I don't know. I'd like to see Bitcoin a bit lower so we can stack more sats. But it's always good that somebody is really like positive. But regarding the governments, governments shouldn't be buying Bitcoin. This is my personal opinion. And it's all good, and they're all on the El Salvador hype train, but I think it's better if you just let it be the people's money. Why should governments buy all this Bitcoin?
Yes, but maybe someday we'll find out the answer to that age-old question: how many Bitcoins can Nayib Bukele fit into a briefcase? Or maybe it was stolen, or it was family, or he got struck by lightning or something. Something bad happened. Dan, Eve, fortune favors the bold. Is it time to re-enter the market, as Josh says, maybe just the tip, just a little bit?
Well, it isn't the South Park prophecy came true, right? That they were like, oh, my mum spent all her money on Bitcoin and NFTs, and now I don't have enough money for like buy school lunch or whatever.
And now we all have to live in a hot dog.
Yeah.
I live in a hot dog, Kyle. A hot dog.
Well, it's obviously, we're down from all-time highs. We're kind of literally bang in the middle of in between the next halvening. So things are kind of getting a bit choppy. I think Josh made a good point about the fact that they're clever people. They're buying when there's blood, right? There's and the fact is that it's going to go up eventually, as kind of history seems to be showing in terms of the data that we do have. So buying now, but makes I think the average for the El Salvador Bitcoin was pretty high actually at $46,000. For MicroStrategy, it's only and they're 56% down at total on their investment. MicroStrategy's average is 30,644, so they're a bit less impacted, and they still have $2 billion of Bitcoin on the balance sheet that they can use as collateral if they need to. It does seem like the Saylor bar's gone down from from I'm sure it was $20,000 or something in the previous readings, and now it's the Saylor bar is now $3,500. So it seems like they've got a lot of leeway, and they have actually got collateral. With El Salvador, the IMF still begging them to reject Bitcoin and dissolve the trust funds, so that and then they're citing concerns about criminals using the cryptocurrency. And they're obviously, again, completely ignorant and unaware of the traditional finance system and all the banks, which are so very well behaved and never get fined for any bad behavior at all. And they're oblivious to the fact that fiat can be used in so many crazy ways. Some of the quotes from the article, though, I think are quite cool. Like one of them was, it's for 1.5 million. That's the same as this is how much Bukele bought recently, $1.5 million. That's the same as like 3 fire trucks. Yeah. Not a bad comparison, right? But I'd much rather buy a bunch of Bitcoin than 3 fire trucks. However, if they do want to build this Bitcoin city next to a volcano, you may need some fire trucks just in case. So, may not have been the smartest decision. But someone else also said, so it's just like the California gold rush. Only the peoples that sell the hardware has made monies, and for most parts, the rest lost monies. Well, actually, that's really silly, because very few people make hardware. And lots of other people made lots of money. Like Bitcoin went up to $69,000. Yeah, fair enough, it's gone down now, but a lot of people are still holding. So technically, they haven't lost money yet because they haven't sold. In fact, the number of people holding long term keeps on going up year by year. So yeah, I obviously it's not good right now. The fact the price is low, and it seems like we're kind of here we think it's going to be going a bit lower as well. But as long as they're able to kind of keep the wheels turning, then eventually that Bitcoin's going to be worth a lot more. In theory, this is not financial advice.
It was interesting, as Dan said previously. Many thought that Saylor's number was around 21,000. If it went below there, he'd need to borrow more money. Now Saylor says it's a cool 3,500, well below Ben's prediction of $10,000 Bitcoin. So if they want to break Michael Saylor, they're going to have to push it lower. And if they get back to 3,000, I think a lot of us would be buying. That sounds like a really nice number. A blast from the past, or as Tone used to say, it has to retrace to 1,200, and we're still looking for that $300 Bitcoin. That was a beautiful time. Moving on to the exit question, Josh Agala, who blinks first? Will it be Nayib Bukele, or perhaps the board of MicroStrategy, who either stops buying or maybe even, God forbid, sells a little bit of their Bitcoin? Who blinks first?
I think they've gone in too deep. The thing is with the government, it's taxpayers' money, so they don't really know if they'll care as much as when it's private money that they actually have to be answering to. So I think if anything, Saylor will, but if liquidation's down at $3,000, I think he's fine. It was 21. I think he might have paid off or added collateral, either that, but also maybe it was a confusion between Celsius, because Celsius was at around 21,000 at liquidation. Then it went down to like 19. Now it's down at 14,000, or the last I checked. So maybe they've gone even further down. But yeah, or was it 16,000? I think it was 16,000, sorry. So yeah, I think Celsius, they will blink first. I'm wondering if someone can dig them out. There's talks of like Goldman Sachs jumping in. I don't really buy it. I think we're going to see some more pain along the way. And really, this is what it's all about. It's about the markets realizing that you shouldn't be degenerate with your investment strategies. And when you've got professionals, so-called professionals like 3 Arrows Capital and Celsius, that is like old school Wall Street acting like degenerate gamblers, you're going to get problems like this. And in this space, the government isn't bailing you out. And this is exactly what was written in the Genesis block of Bitcoin. right? Bitcoin's launch was all about a rebellion against bailouts, and against, you know, the socialization of financial fuck ups and the privatization of profits. So rather, it was like privatize the profits and the losses. If you're going to be dumb enough to lose, then that's a learning lesson. For the investors, you'd need to do better due diligence and demand better structures from the people that are investing your money, and the investors, because if you don't, you're not going to get the investment. So it takes time for people for industry to like actually clean itself up. And sadly, what's going to happen is that Celsius probably go broke. Then they're going to go running to the state going, oh, it's such a wild west and we need more regulation and more laws. Instead, you just need to actually need education. You need shows like this. You need podcasts and everything else teaching the people of the world how to invest, how to look for good investors and good investment opportunities.
And that's a great time for everyone to give us a thumbs up at home. There's only about 50 people watching with the thumbs up and about 500 people overall, but still, we appreciate you guys watching, and we love it when you push thumbs up.
Yeah, push that thumbs up.
Yeah, Martine Wishmayer, who's going to blink first, the president or the business?
I don't know. I don't know how deep Michael Saylor's pockets are. I think Bukele will at one point get into problems with the people because he's basically spending their money. And I don't think he should spend it in the first place. You know, better buy some fire trucks.
His girlfriend gave up her toe, man. She thought she was going to get $1 million. She gave up her toe. Dan, Eve, can either of them stop? Are they both too far gone?
I think hopefully there's going to be enough other businesses and other services that will help. I don't want to use the term bail them out, but support them, because both cases right now are becoming very widespread, like edge cases, but test cases. What's the word? Yeah, for Bitcoin being implemented. One is, with MicroStrategy being the biggest company with exposure on the balance sheet, and the other one is the first country to accept Bitcoin. So, these are being used as the kind of gold standard experiments of how Bitcoin can help either a country or a company. So it's in the Bitcoin community's best interest to kind of keep them afloat and to help keep them out of trouble. So, it might be the case that if the MicroStrategy line isn't really 3.5K, that they've got $2 billion of value at the moment, right? If it goes down to 10,000 of Bitcoin, if it goes down to $10,000, they still got $1 billion of Bitcoin that they can liquidate in order to help pay the bills and keep them out of a margin call. With El Salvador, obviously it's a bit more difficult. I think they're on the verge of defaulting on their $800 million bond, and that's a 48% probability, I think, is at the moment. So that seemed a bit closer to home. I think Martin hit it on the head that the people might get pissed off, right? They might get the community and they might take to the streets a bit more. So that's a bit more of a risk. But ultimately, I think Bitcoiners will club together and make these experiments work. Bitcoin.
And they could always pay off the debt with Bukele coin. There's always Bukele coin. Exactly. And as Dan said, I think they need some emotional support and some money. Emotional support and lots of money. That's what they need, money. Check out worldcryptonetwork.com, where DJ Booth has created the On This Day system. We did a show last year in 2020. We did a show on July 1st. Good Morning Bitcoin in the News. In 2019, we did a show on July 1st. Bitcoin is bigger than Jesus again. Check out the Bitcoin news from 2018, Bitcoin talk show from 2018, shows from 2016, 15, 14, 13, all on this day, thanks to DJ Booth. And you can check the sidebar to see how the popularity who's been on the most shows contest is going. Thomas Hunt in the lead, Tone Vase behind, Dan Eve picking up number 3. Good to see Jimmy Song on the board at number 4, and Josh Shigala pulling up the lead in number 5. So check that out at worldcryptonetwork.com. It's free and doesn't have any ads. Moving on to issue 3, FTX closes on a deal to buy embattled crypto lender BlockFi for $25 million in a fire sale. BlockFi had recently been worth around $250 million to $500 million, depending on who you talk to, and FTX just bought it for $25 million. All of the investors into BlockFi were liquidated. Apparently, none of the loans will be affected, and the valuable customer list will be handed on to the new company. Martine Wishmayer, your thoughts about BlockFi being bailed out by the deep pockets of FTX?
Sorry, your last comment that the valuable customer list will be passed on to the new owners, that triggered me because they already leaked my data 2 or 3 times. I've been approached by countless scammers on the phone number that I registered with BlockFi because I used a separate SIM card for that. So I know 100% sure that it is from the BlockFi leak. And when I complained about that, they were basically saying, "Oh, yeah, there's just nothing to worry about." And then when I kept complaining about it, I got $20 of their own, their own stable coin dollar, the one they use there. $20. That's about the same amount of money that my data is worth on a dark market. So I pulled out of BlockFi quite a long time ago, after I found that they were just changing their tiers. They weren't lowering the interest rate they would pay. They would just change the tiers. So only a tiny little bit of your deposit would yield that advertised rate. The rest would get like 1/10 of that. So I felt that it was so not worth it for the risk people were taking. And lo and behold, less than a year later, the whole Christmas tree comes tumbling down with everything failing. So no. My advice is store your Bitcoin, your private keys. Make sure that you have them in a hardware wallet. If you really want to get some interest out of it, make sure that you don't expose yourself to, say, 10% or 15% at max of your stack, so that in case of another BlockFi event happening, or Celsius, or I don't know which one the next, who will be next, but it will happen again, that you will lose at max 10 to 15%. This is something you can live with, and hopefully, in the future it will get better again. But until no, don't use those services. Don't care. FTX, I don't know. I up until recently, I never heard about them. Then they made a lot of noise. They came into the market. They're super big now. But no BlockFi for me, and no Celsius either. Ugh.
Well, at least you used a burner phone, and I think that's really good advice to everyone. You could go buy another phone line for not that much. You could put the minutes on there. You could use it for just your business dealings. You could keep your crypto wallets over there. That way, if it gets hacked or exposed or sold as part of a bailout merger, it's just your extra phone line. It's not your main phone line. And also, I was reminded, of course, of Empire Strikes Back, when Lando Calrissian says to Darth Vader, "This deal's getting worse all the time." And then Vader says, "Pray I don't alter it any further." See, Josh Shigala, you look ready to go. Would you like to talk about FTX and BlockFi?
Do I ever? So, Sam Bankman, as his last name states, is a very good banker, and he's basically doing what they should be doing, and that's buying up troubled companies in troubled times. I think he's he's an absolutely amazing businessman. I don't know if he's like pure evil yet, where he's gonna like go real hard and just basically swallow. But the thing is, yeah, like Martin said, the customer list has been hacked multiple times. So I don't know if he's just doing it, buying that for that, because basically you could buy that anyway. But I think it's more like, you know, you want to buy, you know, a lot of these companies, they're legit companies. They were just run badly. So same with Celsius, run absolutely terribly, with no foresight. I mean, everybody, if there's one thing you know, that Bitcoin has seasons. And for them to invest like there's never going to be another winter was the most ridiculous nonsense move I've ever imagined. And obviously Sam Bankman knows that there is a winter coming, started building up liquidity, ready to buy up some of these startups that fail through this time. And there's many of them. So yeah, you know, it's part of the cycle, part of the move. Hopefully he'll do a better job. You know, obviously what we're doing with the standard is to try and build a decentralized version of what BlockFi was, where you own the key to the smart contract and not someone else, and it doesn't get gambled away. It just gets locked up, and then you can generate the stable coin that you need. That's happening with us, but let's see. You know, let's see what happens. Represent, Dan.
Yes, you can't trust banks, but you can trust Bank Man. Dan, Eve, your thoughts on FTX buying up BlockFi?
So I'm here shilling the standard for Josh. I think it makes perfect sense. Like these businesses, it sounds like everything kind of seems to root back to Three Arrow Capital and everyone's exposure to Three Arrow Capitals. That's like Voyager Digital, BlockFi, Celsius, and maybe others that we haven't heard about yet, because that's, you know, we all know how kind of bad the rehypothecation issue with Bitcoin is, and the Bitcoin just going from one party then to another to another to another, and when something like this happens, it's like a chain reaction where that breaks down, and there's a lot of different affected parties. It's sad that we're sort of so many years into not DeFi, but you know, the holding Bitcoin, right, and being able to and knowing about the risks associated with a third party having your Bitcoin, and yet we still have the same events happening over and over again. And it does really emphasize the importance of holding your own private keys, because that way, you know, no one can get to it, right? Like no one can get to it. You do miss out on yields, fair enough, but no one can get to it. I do think there is a bit of some merit with some of the DeFi stuff, but then you've still got the risk of your coins being locked in some either an erroneous smart contract or vulnerabilities that haven't been found by an audit, for example. So there are, you know, it's not perfect. But ultimately, the best way you can keep just forget about if you want utmost security, forget about yields and just hold your Bitcoin. Simple as. That's the most simple thing. You won't get the yield per year, but Bitcoin's yield, like the average yield per year, is probably significantly higher than you would get anyway from these basic yield apps. So it kind of just makes sense to hold the Bitcoin. On Sam Bankman-Fried, I did watch an interesting documentary, like a short documentary. It was like a video on YouTube. I'm not going to lie, it wasn't some sort of.
He got it on video tape. He traveled to many stores. Critically acclaimed, award-winning YouTube.
I have a Google PhD, I have, you know, but no. So it was actually quite interesting. He wants to give as much money away to charity as possible, he said eventually. So it does seem like he could be one of these secret, you know, wolf in sheep's clothes, evil people that's trying to do good. But he genuinely just seems like a nice guy. He seems like, you know, watch the videos and interviews about him, and he's actually seemed pretty down to earth, certainly a lot more down to earth than some of the people that you hear being interviewed. So I'm hoping that he is a good force for Bitcoin and crypto, because crypto, unfortunately, is, you know, people say it's not crypto, it's Bitcoin, but crypto's here to stay. Just like to the banking system, Bitcoin's here to stay. They're akin to each other. And unfortunately, crypto will be around other things other than Bitcoin. And hopefully he's just a good force for that, right? And he's one of the good actors, and that he does good and doesn't make Bitcoiners look like twats because crypto is doing bad,
Well, I've never met a billionaire that I didn't like. As Trace Mayer used to say, not your keys, not your coins. Who is Trace Mayer? I have to Google that. Moving on to issue 4. Issue 4, ETFs. Again, not giving up. VanEck refiles with the SEC for a spot Bitcoin ETF. VanEck believes nothing should prevent the SEC from approving a pure Bitcoin ETF after the regulator green-lighted Bitcoin futures ETFs in 2021. And over in Amsterdam, hey wait, I'm in Amsterdam. Euronext Amsterdam launches its first spot Bitcoin ETF. The Jacobi Bitcoin ETF will be the first spot Bitcoin ETF offered on the Euronext Amsterdam exchange for institutional European investors. Dan Eve, maybe an ETF in America, definitely an ETF in Amsterdam. We've got ETF fever. Will it finally happen? Are we in the spot Bitcoin ETF promised land?
Well, they make a good point, VanEck. The fact that if they're worried about the exposure to Bitcoin and protecting customers, then there's exposure to Bitcoin from a futures ETF. So maybe there's additional security worries about holding Bitcoin on the balance sheet, but there's still the biggest citation against this Bitcoin spot ETF is about is about the fact that it's exposure to Bitcoin and it's an unregulated market with people manipulating it and like libel. Oh no, not that. Sorry, that's the normal banking system. It's just these are kind of ridiculous arguments. What's interesting is that the Bitcoin ETFs have seem to be traditionally launched at kind of peaks, right? That if you look at the previous peaks, like the CME, the 2017 one was pretty much at like the $19,000 marker of 2017. And there's others since that kind of they almost ride the hype and then they suddenly allow agree the ETF right at the point of a little spike and then it dumps again, which is actually really bad news by the sounds of it for the recent short ETF that's just been done, because although it may go down a bit, ultimately I think everyone knows that we're kind of halfway through the bear market right now in theory, and things should start after this dip should start picking up. So it's going to be choppy either way, right? The fact is that if you have a pension, you're putting your money, or 401k as they say in the United States, if you've got you're putting your money in Bitcoin, if you're going to have a bit of downturn, I think, initially, because we do seem to think that the price is going to go down a bit, but ultimately long term it's going to go up. So Bitcoin is a long term asset. It's all about the books they all say about the time preference and stuff like that. I think ultimately we deserve a spot ETF soon. We deserve a company that's actually holding Bitcoin on the balance sheet and putting their private keys where their mouth is. I
don't know what VanEck's doing with their mouth, but they are playing by playground rules, and it does check out like the epic case of Finders v. Keepers. Josh Shigala, will we see a Bitcoin spot ETF soon?
I often get asked about this question, and then when I read the comments, they're like, a lot of people don't really understand ETFs, I've noticed. So I just want to bring it back a little bit. All an ETF is basically a company that owns basically it can be a bunch of things. It can be like a portfolio of stocks, and then that's a public company, and people trade shares in the company. They don't own the underlying asset that the company holds. And what I don't understand is why it's so hard to get a company to list itself on the stock exchange that's holding Bitcoin. So MicroStrategy could do it. Why can't they do it? I don't understand the SEC's problem. Why can't
they have that spider ETF, and it's just full of spiders. I mean, if you can have spiders in an ETF.
I've never heard of a spider ETF, but I'll take your word on that one. The thing is, I really don't understand like why a company can't hold Bitcoin on its balance sheet and then publicly list itself. I don't understand the problem. I don't understand why it's taking this long. I don't get it.
Martin Wishmayer, why no ETF yet?
I think the concern was that the Bitcoin price was manipulated, while stocks, of course, aren't, and therefore the consumer should be protected. But you can bet now with the short. You can bet on the price going down by shorting Bitcoin. So that is allowed. You can bet on the price going down with Bitcoin, but you can't bet on Bitcoin itself. I think there is a little bit of a double agenda here. And I think we'll see the ETFs pop up elsewhere in the world before the SEC will change their mind. There's a lot of anti-Bitcoin sentiment there. And I think there's a double agenda.
Also, we're looking it up here for Josh. It says that the SPDR, or Spider, S&P 500 ETF is available. They also have the SPY ETF for spies. It doesn't say if they're Russian or American spies. But yes, SPDR, Spider, it's very clear. I don't know if we'll get an ETF, but I do know we'll keep talking about it. It's exciting. They're making one in Amsterdam. Not so sure about the VanEck one. I do like the way they're trying to quote the rules back to them, saying, hey, you allowed it over here. Why not over here? But that's logic, and that doesn't always work on the SEC. Also, a fun announcement this week. There's going to be another Bitcoin conference in Amsterdam from the Bitcoin 2022 crew. First it was in Florida. Now it's in Amsterdam. So a lot of Amsterdam-related Bitcoin news this week. That's obviously why I'm here to cover it.
Well, to be honest, the news only started happening once you landed. So I see a correlation here. I think you're like making the news.
See, we're controlling it. We're in charge. The Mad Tour, investing and controlling the news. Let's skip the exit question. Let's just move on to issue 5. It's the most exciting issue, the one you've all been waiting for. The FBI has added the Cryptoqueen, Dr. Ruja of OneCoin, to the top 10 most wanted fugitive list after the alleged $4 billion OneCoin fraud. We, of course, on this show, everyone called it a fraud while it was happening. Chris DeRose and John Zith did an excellent series where they went inside with a hidden pen, and the man told them, I know it in my knower that OneCoin is going up. Everyone knew Dr. Ruja was going to double your coins in her spreadsheet by November. And now the FBI, with all of their investigative tools, have figured out there was no blockchain, there was no OneCoin, yet they allowed them to rent hotel rooms all over the country to pitch their fake coin, even going to Wembley Stadium, where she tossed a coin and said OneCoin will be bigger than Bitcoin. Martin Wishmayer, what about OneCoin? Why did it take the FBI so long? And how did that contribute to $4 billion being scammed?
Well, they amassed the $4 billion in about 3 years' time. So it did take a couple of years. But I remember in 2017, I was called by QuoteNet. This is a Dutch finance publication. They published their Dutch version of the Forbes 500, which is like the Quote 500 or the Quote 100. And they asked me about OneCoin and whether it was such a great investment. So I told them, like, guys, this is a total scam. You shouldn't fall for this. But they went to one of those meetings anyway, and there was this optimism that OneCoin was the next big thing. But I already warned them, like, your OneCoins don't exist except behind some login screen on a OneCoin website. It's all fake. And during that time, I think it was at the peak of OneCoin promotion in the Netherlands, we also had this very well-dressed gentleman appearing at the Bitcoin embassy who looked like an MLM, I don't know, snake oil salesman. He could have been selling, I don't know, hand cream or whatever, you know, the stuff they sell, or Tupperware bags. But no, he was selling OneCoin, the dream. And he had this wife who looks like really like, you know, well dressed, very nice gown, and like way overdressed for the very informal embassy meetings, but they were totally like, you know, into their OneCoin. So I had to tell them, like, you know, sorry, but this is a Bitcoin meeting. Either you shut up and listen or you leave. And they decided to leave. So yeah, so yeah, I think it's government's just slow, and it's and I don't think there is any Dr. Ruja left. This was OneCoin was run from Bulgaria. And as everybody knows in Europe, in Bulgaria, there is no mafia. You just have businessmen with connections. And basically, OneCoin had lots of connections. So yeah, they were run from Bulgaria. And I think at one point, Dr. Ruja just like, yeah, I don't know, disappeared. She just got lost. And now other people are enjoying the 4 billion, but Dr. Ruja will not be found. I can guarantee you, she's not on some island in her Louis Vuitton outfit or anything. No, she's probably lies on the bottom of the sea somewhere close to the island, and the people on the island are actually enjoying the money. So yeah, it's pointless to put out a warrant or put her on a list. I think it's like. Yeah, it's more symbolic that, you know, yes, we figured out at the FBI that it was a scam all along, and we blame the lady from OneCoin, but even though she's probably dead. Sorry, Dr. Ruja, if you are alive, please respond to my Twitter account and give some sign of life, but I don't think you will.
You owe Martine some money.
Yeah, you show me the money.
It's almost romantic to think that OneCoin was created by one person, or that the FBI could just find and capture that one person and shake
Exactly.
the $4 billion out of her. Like, she just has it in her pocketbook. We're going to get it all back. No problem.
It doesn't sound logical. This was a very oiled scam. It was very well run. And they had an office in Sofia, Bulgaria, and if you know Sofia, it's a bit of a mix of yeah, you know, it's a very eclectic mix of different neighborhoods. But the place where they were in spot on, in the best place in Sofia. So you'd think that the burn rate was already high before they started. So it's definitely not some lady that just started a new coin and woke up at one point and said, I have a dream, I make my OneCoin. No. This was a mafia-run operation, I can tell you that.
And what was so unique about OneCoin is, much like Facebook was only marketed to college students in Harvard and later one college at a time, OneCoin was not really offered to the technological people. They weren't trying to get Bitcoiners on board. They were using the traditional MLM system where they rent conference rooms at hotels. They have speakers come in. They maybe even have plants in the crowd that say, I'm going to invest. And they would also use peer pressure so that after you invested your $10,000 minimum, they would go and get you to go to all your friends and get your friends to invest $10,000 and maybe even more. And like Martine's saying, you really got to check out that article from the period. Martine went into them, totally exposed OneCoin, told the QuoteNet, they said, this Bitcoin entrepreneur laughs at us when we talk about OneCoin, says there is no blockchain, says you'll lose all your money. And yet still the article in that classic both sides thing, they're like, he says this. Meanwhile, the OneCoin promoter says it's going to the moon and it's going to be a great investment. And we just got to present both sides. We can't think for ourselves here. Dan, Eve, I've even heard there's some celebrate. Go ahead, Martine. Yeah.
Yeah, it is very sad because those people lost like not only all their money, but they also lost all their friends and everything. It's not like Bitcoin or anything, you know, but it's like, you know, it's this MLM scumbag program, and it's which really made you get all these people you know in, and only after you got those people in, then you went up in ranking. It's a traditional MLM scam, and this is why I really dislike anything related to a multi-level marketing type of thing. There are always pyramids. There's always a scam. I've never seen, even in a way, Tupperware, which is like the granddaddy of all MLMs, like MLMs is like selling those plastic storage containers that are like 10 times the price of what they should be. I mean, really, like everybody who touches an MLM eventually gets burned. So yeah. Sorry, I just had to get it off my back. I feel really bad for people who invest in OneCoin. And at the embassy at the time, we thought, we have to warn these people. But because it's such a different community, we were unable to even reach those people because they were not on the same message boards. They didn't use the same social media channels. They were all in there. Oh, shall I take OneCoin or shall I peddle Tupperware packages or something? It's sorry, you lost it all.
Well, it's an amazing feeling when you know it's a sure thing. It's a lot like if you found the Lord and you're out there trying to save someone's soul. You have to save their soul, right? Otherwise they burn in hell. I know that OneCoin is going to double.
No, you better pray for some brains there.
I have to put all of your money into it. I have to put everybody in my office's money into it, because if you don't put your money into it, you're dumb, because it's going to double by November. It's better than Bitcoin. I've heard all about it. Dan, Eve, I've even heard that she broke the glass ceiling, and that maybe we should be celebrating. Dr. Ruja is the first woman on the FBI's most wanted list, something like that. We're really setting some records here. What do you think, Dan, Eve, about OneCoin?
Oh, that was hilarious. That tweet you posted about from Carl Torpy, that they Yas Queened her, like wow, she's like the first lady on the FBI most wanted list, like as if it's like, oh, this is such a great thing. There's going to be a reward ceremony where they give it to when they eventually find her with the steel boots, concrete boots at the bottom of the ocean, that they'll give her the reward, the award. No, I think I'm actually kind of with Martine on this. I think that, although she was the kind of lead person, there's probably a lot of more people behind it that she probably could have also implicated, and that's probably not going to be good for her. The FBI picture that the series of picture they released, though, was quite funny, because it says like FBI 10 most wanted fugitives, and it's Ruja Ignatova. And they give 3 pictures, and all 3 pictures look like completely different people. Like all the 3 pictures they showed actually looked like 3 completely different women. You wouldn't turn around and go, oh, each one you'd be like, oh, that doesn't look like the other one. But the fact that it is a bit odd that she's been put on the list with, I know that it's fraud. I know a lot of people lost a lot of money and it's bad, but on the same list as like cartel, as they put in the article, like cartel leaders, murderers, and terrorists. Like, it's kind of maybe there's a different list that they could put her on, perhaps.
Well, finally, crypto is getting some respect here, right? We're getting that respect.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the first crypto person as well on the
I just looked on that list and I thought, yeah, Dan is right. There's totally different pictures, and there were like 2 other men there. So was she a man at first? But no, that's the other people on the list. So that's a sort of cartel leader. But yes, they're at FBI.gov if you want to surf. If you're at home and you want to surf some mugshots.
If you want to surf the other leaders, but it's a sad thing. They lost a lot of money. When I first came out of university and was looking for a job, I got suckered into so many of these MLM type sales jobs, and that like the attitude is it's so uniformly nuts. Like one of them was like they advertised it as like, they called it like electric account what was it, electric account executive. And I got there and it was like, oh, big, it was like, they might as well have just said big monies. And I was like, oh, okay. My mum was like, watch out. And she knew she spotted it a mile off. And I got there and there was like an hour-long session where they were basically high-fiving each other in a room. And I still didn't know exactly what was going on. And then eventually they were like, right, we're going out on the road then. And we went out on the road. And like the manager that I was with, he had all these stories about like the money he was making, and it was in a shitty Peugeot 205, like that was like 15, 20 years old, and then it wasn't until we literally reached the first door that I realized that they were selling gas and electric, and I was like, what the fuck? Like it's nothing like how you described it, like this job that I was going to get, and it's the same thing. They fill these event rooms, they pump you full of this like energy, and it's really sad. People really think, they put their lives into it. And these MLM schemes are awful. They make you invest up front. They say like, oh no, before you get all the sales gear, you need to spend $1,000, but you'll get that back really quickly. And it's really savage. And it's a shame that that people can still get suckered in like me. I got suckered in and I didn't think I was a sucker. And now I know I was a sucker. But until it happens to you, it's like anything, until you've been scammed, like it's difficult, even when you're in the scam, admitting you've been scammed, right? It's like if you're an alcoholic, it's like admitting you're an alcoholic is the first step. Admitting that you're in the middle of a scam is the first step. And a lot of these people, even while they're going like, literally while they're going, have you heard of OneCoin? Like they're still probably thinking, oh fuck, it's a scam, but but I'll rope this sucker in anyway.
You're right about that, Dan. It is easy to convince people to believe in something, but it's extremely hard usually to convince people that they were wrong about something. The mind will start making up excuses. I mean, just look at Trump voters, for example.
2024.
Okay, sorry, Josh.
It's almost like a game of 3-card Monty as well, because they control the environment that you're in. So if they have a couple of plants in the audience and those plants stand up and say, I'm investing 100K, I'm investing 50K, and you stand up with your pocketbook and all of your life savings and say, I'm investing 10K, the company just made 10K, right? Those other guys don't have to pay necessarily. They can write down a fake check afterwards. Getting you to sign is worth having 2 guys there. You buy them lunch, you put them in a suit, they say they're investing. You have no idea what's going on. You have no idea the environment you're coming into. It's much like that classic poker game analogy. If you can't spot the mark by the first hour, the mark is you. And that, like Dan and Josh saying, that's hard to come to. You don't want to be the guy that's being scammed, but then again, you're waving your checkbook in the air. You're going to make lots of money. Josh Shigala, what do you think about OneCoin really breaking that glass ceiling there, putting the ladies on the map? Oh, Josh is muted. Seems like some sabotage.
Oh, that's the original meaning
censorship.
Blame the government. No, that's the original meaning of shill, right? A con artist has a shill that stands in the crowd, be the first to buy the snake oil, and then it gets everyone believing. Anyway, I'm just looking through the FBI wanted here, and it's funny that it's such a strange listing, like race white. Well, I didn't know that was a race. That just seems like a description to me. I don't know.
Well, if you like lost all your money and still want to have something, you can download a poster. You can download a poster and you can print it and you can hang it on your wall. So Dr. Ruja is on your wall as a poster. So like you invested all your money into OneCoin and you still have a poster. So
you got to post an NFT it.
But this really is an accomplishment. None of the other crypto scams made it this far. We all thought, oh, Carpellis is so bad, or oh, maybe this guy or that guy or whatever, that gal. And no, this one is the OneCoiniest. It's the most scammiest.
But the interesting thing here is the FBI is offering $100,000 for information leading to the arrest of Ruja. And the thing is about crypto is that you're going after someone that stole $4 billion, apparently. You know, obviously there's a mafia behind it, but she would have a large cut if she's not at the bottom of some ocean. And you know, if you're clever and you know something about that, you would just write her and say, look, I know it's you. They're offering me 100K, offer me 200K. And I'm not going to say, so this is how it all starts. It seems like a bit of a lowball amount to offer 100K for someone that's obviously made up with a lot of money. It's funny, I was looking through my old GitHub account, and I was writing an open source letter to warn everybody about OneCoin that was meant to go viral and spread around. And I had like Andreas Antonopoulos adding and a bunch of others. That was the plan. And I don't think it ever happened, but it was interesting finding that a few weeks ago. And you know, it was such an absolutely egregious and obvious scam at the time. And yeah, all of a sudden it was weird. It was like one of those wasp nests that just all of a sudden you start seeing one wasp and then two and then five, and all of a sudden there's thousands of wasps around you. I'm saying that because I've recently had a wasp nest at my place, but it was like that at Bitcoin meetups. We'd be there just enjoying ourselves, talking about Bitcoin, how we're going to change the world. Hey, have you guys heard of OneCoin? And like, then someone else would pop up. Oh, OneCoin. Yeah, I think, and it was just everywhere all of a sudden, and we had to really fight to get rid of them. I remember the John Seth and Krista Rose episodes where they would go in there and you know, try to do pounce on them all and expose them. And I'm just amazed. It is the whole there's a new sucker born every day sort of thing, and that's really unfortunate. But yeah, how massive that scam got. If people the you know, after a while of hearing all these people, I Googled what it was, and I was absolutely blown away. The first thing I saw was an entire football stadium with, I mean, this was when crypto was pretty young still. You know, we didn't have the masses of volume of money that's in there now. But at this stage, OneCoin had managed to get massive stadiums with fireworks and OneCoin and whoa. And get this, Bitcoiners and people that are interested in crypto were like, there's only 21 million. Wow, that's like amazing. Only 21 million of anything. It's never going to exist anymore. The OneCoiners, I remember watching that video where they were at a full-on, you know, sports stadium with fireworks and everything. Ruja gets on stage and goes, next week we're gonna double everybody's coins. We're gonna, everyone, if you've got 1,000 OneCoin, you're gonna open up your account and you'll have 2,000. And everyone's like, yeah, like it's a good thing. And all Bitcoin is like, hang on a minute, you've literally just doubled your inflation. That sounds terrible. It's the dumbest shit ever. And so, yeah, you're right. They didn't go after technical people. They didn't go after Bitcoiners. They went after total dumb, well, I wouldn't say dumb. They went after people that just weren't educated in any sort of economic theory or interest. They were just wanting to get rich. And these people fall for anything and they're desperate. And it's really, really, really a sick scam. I hope that they get this woman. I hope this woman opens up her black book and gets the rest of them, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think she's probably already been suicided, and that's, you know, I don't. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. I don't know. You know, that's the thing in crypto. You fall for scams, and then you learn what they look like, and you hopefully don't fall for another one, and you invest wisely after that.
Hashtag gonna go there. But if the FBI couldn't squeeze out just a few of the names from Ghislaine Maxwell as to who was associated, then I doubt they're going to get a load of co-conspirators of OneCoin.
Yeah, it's true. Yep.
Well, and I agree with Josh. It really was a different group of people. They certainly weren't watching our shows. They weren't watching Andreas. They were not interested in the Bitcoin market, but they did want those Bitcoin gains. And OneCoin told them they were going to make those gains. The hotel room seemed nice. It was the Four Seasons. It wasn't a landscaping company. So they said, okay, and they put their money in. The exit question, we're going to follow up on Martin on what he said. Martin says Dr. Ruja is not alive. Josh just seconded it, said she's not alive. Dan Eve, is Dr. Ruja alive? Will we ever see her cuffed in irons brought to justice?
I think there's either concrete boots or she's had so much plastic surgery she looks like neither one of the three already pictures that are up on the FBI site that don't look like each other.
I want to go against the group here. I want to say that Dr. Ruja is like Dr. Doom. She's secretly been running the whole thing. She has an iron suit to protect her from assassins, and she is alive, but they'll not be able to capture her alive. She'll be killed when they try to take over her compound in a violent confrontation that everyone will get their money's worth. But we're running out of time, so until that happens, we'll just have to wait and see. Martin Wishbay, are you ready with a prediction or a story of the week?
Yeah, story of the week. We added FTX, the company that is now buying BlockFi. Our clients asked for it, so we added support in the new version of the server software. So if you're running an ATM network and you want to use FTX or want to give it a try, just upgrade to the latest version and everything will be there.
That's very cool. FTX sponsored all the umpires of Major League Baseball. They sponsor sporting groups and arenas, but still, I just remember the slogan of crypto.com that's fortune flavors the bold. Fortune flavors the bold. I think it was for Doritos. Josh Shigala, prediction or a story of the week, maybe more advertising puns. That's what I'm
Yeah, it sounds like winners don't lose drugs. But I've got a prediction that we are going to have one of the biggest names in economics join the standard as on the advisory board. A legacy name that goes back generations. If that doesn't give a hint, it's really exciting. It's really exciting to have them on board, and it really we really are embodying what his grandfather envisaged for money, meaning hard asset backed and soft. Nowadays with soft money as well. So it's really exciting. Looking forward to it. If you want to know who that is, please follow me on Twitter, and it's Jay Shigala, JSCIGALA, and you'll be the first to know. Or go to thestandard.io.
Did you onboard Peter Schiff?
No, it's not Peter Shifty.
Oh, it's a secret. You've got to sign up at thestandard.io so you can find out my bets on Jackson Palmer. Can't beat Jackson. Plus, he hates everything. Dan, Eve, do you have a prediction or a story of the week? Go ahead.
Predictions are never 100%. So I predict that I may make it down to the Avon Valley tomorrow because I think Ben's been precking up for it tonight. It does say that it's going to be raining, 90% chance of rain. So I don't know how that affects the event itself. It's got indoor stuff as well, like a little ball pit and not a little ball pit, but it's obviously a lot better than that. Goodness, so I've really undersold it. But
a tiny little ball pit.
Let's get one of those giant, what they call it, soft plays. So I'm thinking about taking the family. It's meant to be a family event, but it sounds really cool. Like, go learn about Bitcoin. Ben's going to be doing some talks there. Victoria Jones as well. And so who did Tooth Decay, the book. So I think it's going to be quite an interesting little conference. So get involved if you're in the Bristol Avon type area.
It's also a very affordable conference, so it's accessible to all. So that's, I think, is important. If you're in the area, the price is definitely not a reason not to go.
Yeah, I think it's like £18, £17.50, but half price if you pay it in Bitcoin. So check it out.
And it's in England, so there's a 90% chance of rain with a 10% chance of cats and dogs. So very, very promising, but bring a raincoat. You'll be fine. Thanks again for everybody for watching the show. Give us a thumbs up down below and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll be back again the same time next week. Until next time, bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye.